Hey guys, how y'all doing today? Welcome back again to my channel. I am Ernest Owen, for those of you who do not know. And before the video starts today, I would like you to hit the like button. And the like button is going to help the YouTube's algorithm for the channel to build and grow. With me today, I have a familiar guest on the channel. His name is Dr. Johnson. And Dr. Johnson has been here before. Dr. Johnson is a clinical psychologist with a focus on mental health. And we're going to be talking about today the significance of mental well-being amid COVID-19. Welcome, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you, sir. So, I know you talked about mental well-being amid COVID-19. It's been about 2.5 months now that we've been locked down. How would you think, or how would you rate being mentally well during this season or during this time frame has been, or how can we encourage being mentally well, personally among ourselves and also among our peers?
Sure. Well, I think the first thing, Ernest, we are in ever-changing times, times that we've not seen before, and a time that we won't possibly or hopefully ever see again. But we have to make certain that in these uncertain times that we are not isolating ourselves. When you think about mental wellness or mental well-being, well, what does that look like? Most people ask that question.
Yes.
So in my mind, we're not able to do the things that we customarily do. That's going to gather with friends and family, going to dinner. And so we're shut in, we're closed in, we're sheltering in place. And so in order to stay mentally well and getting to a place of mental wellness, it's always good to connect with family and friends.
Okay.
My family, case in point, a couple of weeks ago, we did a family Zoom where we're all on the computer together. We're seeing each other's faces. You know, we've got our drinks in our hand, non-alcoholic, may I say, and we're conversing about situations, about life, about what our experiences are and have been in this current situation. So that's the biggest of what I would say is definitely connecting with friends,
Okay.
because that's definitely important when it comes to being mentally well.
Okay.
Also, some type of physical activity daily.
Okay.
So we're not going to work, most of us. Most of us are sheltering in place. We're in our homes.
Mhm.
So doing things like exercising, going for walks,
Mhm.
going for a jog, biking, those things are important to get those, endorphins going so that you won't
Absolutely.
be into a place that you're feeling depressed or even
Yeah.
feeling deprived
Right.
because you're not able to do
Right.
that which you normally do in this time.
Okay. So I like what you mentioned there. I know you mentioned physical activity, biking or running or anything that has to do with engaging more with the body and physical activities to get the whole endorphin circulating and moving. I think while that's also important, we also have to put into perspective that some people are still drained and still overwhelmed at the fact that not only has their life changed, but their social life in general is changed forever. Now we have to deal with social guideline principles from the CDC or by the WHO. We have to deal with observing social distancing guidelines. We have to deal with wearing masks. We have to deal with wearing gloves when we're in the grocery store, or we have to particularly go to the grocery store with our grocery list and look at the list and specifically pick those items intentionally from those aisles and put it in our cart and go out to the checkout line and leave the store. So the whole concept of livelihood now and also the whole social structure has changed as a result of COVID-19.
Yes.
Now, in a mental way or from a mental perspective, how different is that from what we were before, and how can we grow to maintain what we have now and still stay sane and still stay mentally okay in this season?
Sure. Well, I think the first thought or the first school of thought is being able to understand the changes here, and that irrespective of the way that we lived our lives before, um, undoubtedly we will not go back to those ways as we knew them. So if we could start to change the thought process or our thinking to move with change, because change is going to happen whether we like it or not. So in other words, being observant, learning new ways to feel, new ways to think, new ways to externalize how to live life with all the changes, it helps you to become more adaptive to what's going on around you versus being resistant and I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm not going to do it this way. Case in point, I was on CNN, I think it was, and there was a gentleman who was going into the Costco store to shop, and he did not want to wear a mask. Now, how difficult did that not have to be if he had just been given to the change that's going on around him? So the person at Costco had to let him know, these are the guidelines, these are the regulations, and you cannot enter the store if you don't abide by our rules and guidelines. Right. So conditioning our minds to be able to think differently in today's society can help you to be able to go with the change. And I suggest just doing a little bit at a time. If it's your mask, going outside, conditioning your mind that, okay, in order for me to go to the supermarket or for me to go out, I need to wear a mask. So let me start to, when I'm just going out to the mailbox, putting on my mask. That helps to change my school of thought so that when I go out to a supermarket or I go out to a shopping mall, that it's not so much of a shock to me wearing a mask, because you've started to put these little systems into place as time goes along. And it helps you to not build up such a deep sense of resistance to what's going on around us.
Absolutely.
So, we are in the midst of economic change, whether that's, money, whether that's our businesses, that's schools. These are the times that we live in. So we have to condition ourselves with a level of exactness to be able to live in the world. And this is just kind of how it is at this moment.
Change. See, I am guilty of that, what you just talked about. Sometimes I leave my car and I'm going to the grocery store and I'm like, oh shoot, where's my face covering? And I had to go back again to the car.
Sure.
Now, we haven't experienced this crisis before. We haven't experienced anything of this gravity, of this extent before. Now, I think it's okay for people not to be okay. I think it's okay for people not to be centered about what's going on. I think it's okay for people to feel not at ease at all, because then it shows that we're also normal human beings, and it shows that we're still trying to adapt to whatever's going on in our environment. Mind you, livelihood and lifestyles of people are changed forever. The whole game of the economic changes is here to change the game. Things are going digital, and it's now you have people who weren't used to digital lifestyle try to learn digital things. Sure. And try to incorporate that whole living in their regular daily life. Sure. It's think of the right word to use, but going back to change is here to stay, but we as people are not really trying to adapt to the changes, because it's making us yield back, it's making us stay indoors, it's depriving so many things away from us. So we're more or less being sheltered and being covered by so many different things. So it's, I don't know, what do you think?
Well, I mean, to go back to our topic of discussion, being mentally well amid COVID-19, it promulgates a lot of thoughts in the mind. So when we talk about mental wellness, there's an exactness to that. So what does it look like to be mentally So being mentally well means you're able to make decisive decisions about everyday life. You're able to enjoy life better because you're in a place of balance and you're in a place that you are coherent to what's going on around you. And so that's why we talk about the significance of what that means. Um, in no perfect dictation, this is here to stay. And I do not believe that it is going, I mean, we're going into 90 days of this very soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we've got to change our thought process or our mindsets. And if not, society, the economic stance is going to change it for you. So then either you can do that, you can put yourself in a place of wellness and start some practices mentally and in your own environment so that when you go out into the world that it's not so in your face and it's not so scary to you. Or you cannot practice any self-asserting truths or any using masks and things of that nature. And you can go out into the world and become very overwhelmed with anxiety and distress because you've not tried to do something to temper your everyday thoughts.
Yeah.
So we talk about, COVID-19 and its significance and importance of being mentally well. We have to put into practice those things, those situations that we can do in order to evoke the onset of being mentally well and how to deal with the changes that are going on around us.
So you're saying in general it's a state of mind.
Absolutely, it's a state of mind. And it's a state of being. And not only is it a state of mind, but you have to be able to put into practice.
I know you mentioned last time when we talked about stress.
Yes.
Intentionality being a school of thought. Is this also...
Good memory you have there. Absolutely.
Is this also a factor of intentionality?
Indeed, it is a factor of intentionality because you have to be mentally, you have to have the intent or the intention to be mentally well, right? So that means you yourself, you have to do something personally in order for that to happen. That's not going to just fall out of the sky. Many of us were teetering or in a place of a little imbalance before this happened. And so as a result of this has heightened anxiety.
Right.
It has heightened stress.
Right.
It has heightened depression. Whereas there was some manageability in going out to work, going to a social happy hour after work, where you're not able to do that now. So then you have to work with intentionality just to be able to stay sane or mentally well. And so this is the significant truth of what we're dealing with now, COVID-19. Mental wellness is, it's so vital, it's so important, it's so significant to our everyday lives, but even more so now than ever.
Absolutely.
Because you have to make a concerted effort. You have to be an intentive thought process. It has to be an intentive thought to be able to be solid and be balanced amid what's going on around us.
Right. I think I like what you said there, and that's also very important. Now, why is it important for us to be mentally well?
Okay, so going back to the question at hand, it's important to be mentally well so that you're able to be decisive and that you're able to make decisions about your life, about your children's life, about your family's life in a space of balance.
So in other words, you're saying that the inability to be mentally well hinders my ability to be decisive?
Absolutely. If you are in a place of depression or if you are in a place of anxiety, you cannot make coherent decisions.
So they are of a direct relationship?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you say direct relationship, if you speak to mental wellness and coherence, absolutely. It's impossible to be mentally unstable and make decisive decisions. They are very oxymoronic in their intentionalities. It's you just can't do that. But if you are in a place of mental well-being, then you're able to live a more vibrant and full life where you're able to make decisive decisions about life in general,
Right.
which is vitally important. So yes.
Wow. The significance of mental well-being amid COVID-19. Now, is this only going to be a COVID-19 discussion or post-COVID-19
I'm glad you asked
discussion?
that. I'm glad you asked that. I would say, as a mental health professional and psychologist, no. I think that what has happened, it has forced us to look at ourselves as a nation. It has forced us to look at ourselves apart from a whole. So me as being an individual in relation to the whole world and how I live my life. Um, it's forced us to change. Whatever change looks like for you, or whatever change looks like for me, it has forced us as a nation to do something
Differently, yeah.
And so I always say, to the individuals whom I see, clients or patients, that do you not realize that what you eat, diet, and exercise is a direct correlation to your mental health? And they say, oh, Dr. Johnson, no. So I said, you tell me that you drink caffeine at 12 o'clock midnight, that you do some type of recreational drug, and you tell me that you do that you want to be able to rest well and get a good night's sleep and be able to think clearly. And so when some of us, we've charted these things. We've charted their mental well-being in the time that they ate, what they ate, and when they went to bed. How they felt apropos to not eating properly, staying up all times of the night, and maybe doing some type of drug usage. And they've come back to tell me, you're right, I do see the difference. If I started a cup of coffee in the morning, and I let that take me throughout the day, versus me drinking a cup of coffee at 10, 11 o'clock at night, with me doing it early in the day, it did help me to rest better. You want to have that downtime. You want a good 8 hours of sleep so that your body can totally be at rest. Versus you're doing all sorts of things, caffeine and coffee and drugs or whatever it is that you do.
Absolutely.
And then trying to go to bed and try to get a good night's sleep. It just doesn't work for most people.
Wow. Yeah, I think I see that, and that's where it becomes a direct relationship with
Absolutely.
what you eat.
Absolutely. Diet and exercise is definitely important to an individual's psyche and well-being.
Interesting. Well, I hope we were able to provide you some useful information about the significance of staying mentally well and mentally active amid COVID-19 and also post-COVID-19. Before we go, I would like to charge you to hit the like button if you haven't already. I'd like you to share the video. I'd like you to comment the video and subscribe to my channel. And these different things that you do is going to help to build the channel and grow the channel and also add to the YouTube's algorithms. In the absence of any further info, again, thanks for watching and we'll see you next.